So for the paper that we are reviewing today, this is for examination for 2025 onwards, okay, which is following the new exam syllabus. So the structure has changed a little bit, okay, but still we have paper 2, paper 4, and paper 1, paper 3. So there's two sets of it. This is set A, okay, and then I will try to record set B as well and go through all the details necessary. So before we get started with the video, okay, let's uh play our sponsors for today. Ha! Apparently there is no sponsor, okay, because I didn't post for quite some time already, and I don't think anyone will actually wanted to advertise on my platform. So I wanted to use this time to promote my own tutoring services. So I do offer mathematics and additional mathematics group tutoring. So if you're interested, feel free to leave your contact in the description. Okay, there's a Google link where you can update your names, your contact, and I will reach out to you personally and help you decide which class to join or what suit you best. So if you're interested, okay, link is in the description. Okay, let's get back to the paper. Okay, so as you can see, the structure has changed a little bit. Okay, you are not allowed to use calculator at all. Okay, so I'm gonna handicap myself and not use it. Okay, I think this change is actually good so that students can actually be tested. Okay, but to be honest, if you ask me, I actually felt that the paper gotten easier because this is not the first time I do this paper. I already let some of my students try it. Okay, they will be sitting for this exam. All right, so for the first question, they said 0.01 to the power of 2. So you must understand that technically speaking, they're asking you to multiply it by the same thing twice. Okay, so the solution is pretty straightforward. All you need to do, okay, for me, I prefer the old school way of doing it. It's just 1. And then before deciding how many zeros to assign, okay, because there's nothing else that I can multiply here, I'm going to count how many times do I need to shift to get to the dots. So the first one, I needed 2, then another 2 more here, making it a total of 4 shift. So I'm going to shift the 1 by 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, leaving the dot here and update the 3 zeros in. So my first final answer here for this question is 0.0001. Okay, that's it for question 1. Moving on to question 2. Okay, this is a very typical question. Okay, that no matter how many times I explain, there were still students getting it wrong. And for 4 significant figures, okay, significant figures rules was to start counting if the first figures is not zeros anymore. So over here we have this, which is number 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to highlight or underline the 4th number here, which is a 9. So when I point it towards the front, at the back of it, apparently it was more than 5. So I'm supposed to round it up. Okay, so when I round it up, the 9 will becomes 10 and indirectly affected the 3 in front of it. So the 3 will be updated and my final answer will now be 57.40. So I received a lot of questions about this where students ask, why is it necessary to include the 0 over there? Okay, because for significant figures, okay, the underline that you did earlier indicates where are you supposed to stop writing. Okay, you need to have something over at the space that you underline. So if I excluded the 0, then I will be writing down 3 significant figures only, okay, which the answer will be wrong. So the 0 is much needed. And that's it for question 2. Moving on to question 3. Amy changes 250 euros into dollars. The exchange rate is 1 euro equals to 1.1. Calculate the numbers of dollars Amy received. Okay, so in this question, back then, if I were to do it, I would just multiply it straight away. But then I apparently a lot of students still can't quite understand this question. Okay, so I figure out to use the mathematically similar method where you have €1 equals to 1.1, and since they gave us exactly how many euros we have, the numbers of dollars, you can just assign it as X. Okay, for those students that's pretty advanced, feel free to use your own method and skip through this process here. So 250 times 1.10. Okay, we're gonna go through everything manually. Okay, 2, skip, 052, making the answer 27500. And again, this is not the final answer because we have a dot at the 1 here. So I have to shift it twice, making the answer 275. Okay. So if you understand how to do it, what you should have done is just by taking 250 times 1.1 directly. Okay. This is the more manual method, which is applicable to all types of question. Okay, which some students might find it helpful. So you just adjust your own method based on what suit you best. Moving on to question 4, working out angle DAC. The angles that you're supposed to highlight here is the one at the middle, where it is actually this part here. Okay, so for you to complete your calculation, there's one information that you can't ignore, which is the fact that it is a isosceles triangle, which the 61 will actually be transferred here. Okay, so when you want to work out DAC as your final answer, you're supposed to take 180, or angle DAC, plus 81 plus 61. It is actually 180. So doing the minusing manually, you will get minus 81 minus 61, 99 minus 61. You get your final answer as 38. Okay, that's the answer for question 4. Moving on, we have conversion, where we have meter square changed into cm square. Okay, so if possible, when you're doing this type of question, okay, especially students that's very confident, at least write the conversion table down, where you have centimeters to meters. The standard process was to divide it by 100, but if it's the other way around, which is our use case here, it's a multiplication of 100. So our 0.17, because of it having a square here, you're supposed to multiply it not once, but twice. Okay, making it looking something like this. So the easiest way is to count the number of 0. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, making us shift the 0.17 by 4 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. The final answer is actually 1,700. So for those who need the full details or full insight on how the shifting was done, you actually have to shift it twice. Okay, then another 2 more times, creating an additional 0 at the back, then ignore the 0 at the front. That's why the answer is 1,700. Moving on to question 6. The mass of solid metal cube was 4 kg. The volume is 600 cm cube. Okay, so they even gave us a density formula already. They wanted it to be gram over centimeters cube. That makes us no choice but to convert this 4,000 kg, 4 kg into 4,000 gram. So you have to write 4,000 over 600, and do take note that the zeros will be the first thing that I cancel off. After removing the 2 zeros, I'm left with 40 and 6, and you can go ahead and divide them both with 2, making it 20 over 3. 20 over 3 is not the most simplest form. You can actually convert it into proper fraction, which we have 6, 3, and 2. Okay, so for those who's wondering how do you get this, it's actually through a very manual process where you just divide it accordingly. Okay, leaving a balance of 2. This 2 here is the quotient. All right. Question 7, vector u minus 2v. Can feel free to just write down as per instructed. Okay, you have a 12 and a 5 here. After you multiply it in, okay, you actually get a negative 24 and 10. Okay, the top part compared to the top, minus 24. And then the bottom part, we have negative 2 minus 10, which makes the answers turns out to be negative 12 and 27. So 27, negative 12 is your final answer. Okay, moving on to question B. Modulus in vector basically represents magnitude. So all you need to do is to use your basic Pythagoras theorem where you have negative 12 being squared and another 5 squared. So it's a 144 plus 25, making it 169. 169, if you did memorize the list, you actually get it as 13. So the list, the so-called list that I'm yapping about here is actually 13 squared. It's a squared number. Okay, one of the more common ones where if you do enough practice, you actually stick into your mind. So this is one of those questions. Okay, moving on to question 8. Total perimeter of this semicircle, answer in exact form. So the exact form here is a reminder that your answer will have pi. Okay, so first thing first, they gave us the diameter already. Okay, making this a 4.5 radius and 4.5 radius. The next thing that you need to do is to find the curve part over here, where it is actually a semicircle, making us we have to adjust the formula used here into 1 over 2 times 2 times pi times 4.5. Do take note that you are adding them up. Okay, I made a mistake here. Okay, the 1 over 2 and 2 will cancel off each other, making your final answer just 9 plus 4.5 pi, and that's it. Okay, if you decided to put the 4.5 pi at the front plus 9, that one is also acceptable. Okay, question 9. It's a little bit unusual for them to use this format, but again, if you find it annoying, feel free to readjust and just list down the details necessary. So they want us to find T5. All we need to do is identify the trend that was happening here. Every single time they are decreasing by 5, which means if I wanted to find the next answer, all I need to do is to take 2 minus 5, which is negative 3. Okay, that's for term 5. Okay, for 9b, some students prefer to memorize the formula. For me, personally, I'm a bit lazy. Okay, I hated the formula actually, and I only recommend students to use that formula in maths. Okay, but in this case, all you need to do for my version of the formula, it is common difference. Okay, which is the negative 5 here in this case. Okay, CD will be multiplied by n plus minus 0 term. The so-called 0 term is referring to this first term of 17. When you're going the other way around, instead of continue to minus 5, you're supposed to add the 5 back and make your answer 23. So with this information, we found our common difference, we found our 0 term, and now you just have to piece it together, where you will get negative 5n. Okay, so students will ask again about the formula. Why is it plus minus? It's actually serving as a reminder that you write plus or minus based on what you get from your 0th term. Over here at the top, 0 term turns out to be a positive number, so you just have to add a 23 back. So I personally find this way faster, okay, and I don't have to go and memorize the formula. Okay, so this is how you do question 9. Move on to question 10, where we have a fraction question here. Okay, they wanted us to make it as a mixed number. So no choice, make it into improper fraction first will be my first step. 3 remains. Okay, 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. Same goes to the one at the back. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. Okay, the common denominator that they can both arrive at is actually 6. So I'm going to multiply them with the respective number. 8 times 2 is 16. 7 times 3 is 21. Making the answer as a 37 over 6. Okay, 37 over 6 will be 5. Oh, this should be 6, 6, 6, 1. Okay, so the detailed calculation is attached over here with your 36 and the remainder of 1. That's pretty much it for question 10. Moving on to question 11, we have 64 times to the power of 2 over 3. So first thing first, you must understand that 64 has two different sets of representation. It can either be converted into power of 2, or if you remember the cube numbers list, 64 is actually 4 cubed. Okay, the main assessment here is that they wanted you to know what to do with the power of 3 and 2 over 3 here. And the relationship between them is actually a multiplication. So they wanted to see that you know you're supposed to multiply that up. The 3 would have cancelled and you get 4 square. Okay, 4 square is just 16 as your final answer. Moving on to question 12. Okay, this is actually one of my favorite. Okay, so the brackets is actually unnecessary here. Okay, they just wanted to confuse you. Okay, or wanted to help you to make you pay attention to little details here. So there's a difference between question 12a and 12b. 12a is a multiplication while 12b is a plus. Okay, back then with the help of a calculator, a lot of students don't know the fundamentals for this question. Okay, so what you're supposed to do is to first ignore, okay, whatever brackets that you have if we don't have plus minus in between them. So technically speaking, they wanted to see how are you going to set these two things together, where when you have negative 15 and 10 to the power of 3, the power, they share the same base, so the power is supposed to add up with each other. And 7.1 times 2, it's quite straightforward. You don't really have to write the details, okay? It's just 14.2. Okay, for those who need the detailed calculation, it will be as attached here. Okay, so 14.2 times 10 to the power of negative 12 will be one of the common answers that we receive in exam, but this will still be wrong because they've forgotten the fact that for standard form, there's a rule where the dot must be behind the first number. So when you wanted to transfer the dot back behind the first number, things that needs to be done is to write it down as 1.42 first. Okay, this adjustment tells us that you took out a 10 from it, and this 10 will actually interact with the power of negative 12, making it 1.42. Okay, when your power of negative 12 plus 1, it becomes negative 11. Okay, so moving on to question B. Okay, because they have a plus in between them, okay, the rules that's set in for this question is a little bit different. Okay, it's actually 5.2 times 10 to the power of 7. Okay, this, the one with the bigger one, remain unchanged. You actually have to borrow an additional 10 from the 52, making it 10 to the power of 7 first. So the full details of the working is over here. When you borrowed out an additional 10, the numbers become smaller, and the 1 and 6 interacts, making it 10 to the power of 7. Okay, the reason why you do this is because it was built on this algebra concept where you have 5x plus 6x now. So when you have them together, you will actually get 11x. Okay, so the x in this case is referred to the 10 to the power of 7, where 10 to the power of 7 remain unchanged. You are just adding up those numbers in front, which the final answer turns out to be 5.72. This is answer for question 12. Moving on to question 16. A regular polygon has an interior angle of 162. So there's two options for you to solve this question. Okay, so some students who memorize the interior angle formula would thought of using this straight away because they said one of them is 162. You can now carry out the calculation by transferring the n here. For students who is super sharp, okay, those who tend to score higher in maths, they are wired differently. So instead of looking at the shape as 162, they will just look at the exterior angle. So they will mix and match with the concept that they have learned and think about 18 degree. So 360 over n equals to 18, and you will get 360 equals to 18n. And when you make n the subject, 360 divided by 18, you will get 20 straight away. Okay, so n will be 20, and this is your final answer. You will get the same thing if you perform the calculation on the left. Okay, so it's really up to you. Okay, open-ended question. Question 14. Okay, this is one of my favorite in this set of paper. They mentioned that the range, the mode, the median, the mean are all equals to 10. Find one of the possible sets of these 5 integers. So first of all, the things that I would use is actually mode. The mode for 5 number, it would at least have to be 10, 3 times of 10 or 2 times of 10. So I'm leaning towards having 2 of them first, or I can actually set it as 10 just for the sake of verification. Okay, then they said positive integers, then 10 won't be suitable. Okay, reason behind is I make this justification based on the range. So even if I wanted to set it as the smallest number, I think I will have to set it as 15 and 5. So that later on when I divide them, I don't have to worry about the potential remainder. Okay, because so far whatever that I did, there's no remainder there. So 5 plus something plus 10 plus 10 plus 15 divided by 5 equals to 10. This is the mean. So when I completed the calculation, 10 plus 10 plus 15 is 35, 40. 40 plus x equals to 50. And when I completed all the calculation, I get 10 again. So this is how you find your answer here. But please take note that you're not compulsory. Okay, it's not the answer is not fixed as this. That's why they said one of the possible set. The one that I have here might be the easiest. Okay, so if I insist on using some other combo, what other combo do we have? So let's say I insist on having only 2 tens. I wanted to adjust the range a little bit. Let's say I use 13. Does it work? We have to check. So if I 13 minus 10, this will be 3. Then let's have a look, see if it's correct or wrong. So 3 plus x plus 10 plus 10 plus 13 goes to 5 over 10. This makes your answer x plus 36 equals to 50, and then x will be 14 in this case. Okay, time to do the thinking. Why is this answer wrong? Because when I try to make the arrangement again, I will get 10, 10, 13, and 14. despite it matching the mean, the range is now off already, because 14 minus 3, you will have a range of 11, which makes it invalid. So if you wanted to change up or find other probable results, the numbers that we can try, I think, will be 14 and 4. Okay, let's see if it's work. You will get 12. Yeah, it works, I think. 4 plus x plus 10 plus 10 plus 14 over 5 equals to 10. So this answer here, when you add up all of them, you get 38 plus x equals to 50. X will be 12. Okay, so this is one of the answer, making it 4, 10, 10, 12, and 14 as the possible answer combo. Okay, so again, there's no right or wrong. Choose whichever method that work best for you. Moving on to question 15, a single transformation that transferred T onto A. So immediately I know this is a rotation. Okay, so I saw the center of rotation located here. Okay, it's like a pendulum where when I swing it there, from this particular point, it will form a 90-degree. For the sake of verification, I can also choose a different point. For example, this one right here, where when I join it up, and I join it up, it will also form a 90-degree right here. This, if you were to measure it, it is also a 90-degree. So rotation of 90-degree clockwise from the point, it will be 4, 3 as your final answer for this question 15 here. Next, question 16. A cumulative frequency diagram shows the results. They want us for the median, they want us for the interquartile range, they want us for the 80th percentile, and numbers of plant with height greater than 60 centimeters. Median means 50% of the total population. So the population here is 400 plants, half of it is 200. So all you need to do is trace from 200 and then bring it down. It actually points you towards 30 centimeters. So for interquartile range, it will be 75% minus 25%, which they are represented by, how much was it? Oh, I'm so lazy to calculate it. 300 and 100. Okay. Luckily, my brain started to kick in again. So 300 apparently located right exactly in between of 280 and 330. So when I trace and pull it down, it led me to an answer that is 37. Then for 100, it was here leading us to the answer that was about 17. So 37 minus 17, you will get a balance of 20. All right. So for 80th percentile, trace again, 80% of it, 400 times 80%. Cut off the zeros, it will be 320. So when you check 320, and then you bring it down to the exact answer, it's actually approximately 39. And then we left with the most challenging question here. They want us to find plants that is greater than 60 centimeters. So 60 centimeters is here. So when you trace it back, it actually points at somewhere around This part here is 380. Okay, time to zoom in and calculate. 20 was split by, okay, zoom in. There's actually how many half here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of them. 20 divided by 5. Each small half of it is representing 4 plants. So this particular answer here is 364. The difference between 364 and 400 is actually 36. So numbers of plant that has greater height will be, okay, technical difficulty here. Okay, there's a glitch. So the answer is actually 400 minus 364. You will get your final answer as 36. So this is the final answer for question 4. Moving on to part B, we have frequency density. So as per usual, you need to have the habit to double check the table that was drawn for you, which is this one right here. The formula goes by frequency divided by clock interval. So 120 divided by 20 minus 0. And you will get it as 6. So it was correct. There's no scale factors involvement here. So the test that we just did was to check whether there is scale factor or not. So if that is ruled out, just take 280 minus 30 minus 20. 80 over 10 is just 8. So for the next group that we have here is just up to 8. And yeah, done for this. So as you continue, we have 124 divided by 40 minus 30. You will get 12.4. 12.4. Okay, there's some calculation that needs to be complete here. Okay, the difference is 2, but 2 was being split into 5 different gaps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is our 0.4, making the answer 12.4 is located here at the first box. So I have to continue extend my table, join it up properly, shut it back down, and we are left with only one final calculation, which is 76 over 80 minus 40. So this, we can divide 76 by 4 first, which is 9. Okay, not 9. 76 divided by 4. 144. So it's 19 over 10. Okay, what I did here was I split up the calculation. Okay, I let 4 and 76 cancel off each other first before making it 1.9. So 1.9 is going to be a little bit tricky. Okay, how am I going to draw 1.9 now? 4, 0 0.4, 0 0.8, 0 0.12, 0 0.16. It should be very, very close, but didn't touches 2. So I'm assuming something like this. Join it up all the way, and that should be it, making your final answer 1.9. So for further details, I just realized I wrote something wrong. 0 0.4, 0 0.8, 1.2, 1.6, then 1.9. This is how I came out and draw this thing here. Moving on to question 17. We still have a lot more question here. They wanted us to try BDA. BDA is here. So I have a habit here that is weird. Okay, students normally don't follow my way. They just think that, oh, it's a waste of time. But if you realize, it's all this attention to details that set you apart, okay, from your peers. Okay. So what I did extra all the time was I will actually make the effort, okay, writing this down, where my BDA equals to ACB, which is 34 degree. The logic behind is called angle from the same segment. Okay, this same segment thing is quite easy. All you need to take note is they usually have the same starting and ending point. If a little bit of OCD, feel free to readjust. You can write B first as always and then A. Okay, it's really up to you who you wanted to start from. Okay, so that's how I find that my BDA is actually 34 degree. Next thing that they asked was BCD. BCD, which is this entire thing over here now. Okay, so this one, I'm gonna draw it in blue so that's easier for you to see. Okay, the difference now is that you have this C, B, A, D. Angle is here, angle is here. So this is what we call cyclic quadrilateral, where inside a circle there is a quadrilateral that touches all four sides of the circumference of the circle. So 74 plus the angle is 180. So opposite sides add up, it becomes 180, making your answer 106. Next, they wanted us to calculate ABD, which is this angle over here. Okay, that can be done since we already know this whole thing was 106. Okay, so this is the good part. If you can dissect the question segment by segment, you will know that to find the yellow angle, all you need was 106 minus 34. And you will get your final answer as 72. Yeah, 72 is your final answer for this question. Next, angle ADX is similar to BCX. They gave us the dimension and all. So ADX, BCX, ADX, BCX. Okay. So for the sake of finding it, I'm gonna draw it out again for my own perusal. So ADB and then C and X at the middle. Okay, things to take note now is that we have this angle here. Okay, BC is 4.5, AD is 9, and CX is 3.3. One thing that I have to point out to you is that the angles that they shared here is the same. Okay, the other thing was that they say they are similar, ADX and BCX. But they didn't mention they were parallel though. So it all comes down to this 34 degree that we have earlier. If here is 34, here is also 34. I personally would do one more steps. Okay, so this is the reason why some students don't like me teaching in class, because I insist a lot of additional work for them. Okay, this is to ensure that they get the marks entirely. Okay, so I redrew the whole shape, shifting it a little bit so that I know who compared to who, or who correspond to who. Okay, so to run your mathematically similar calculation, they wanted dx, right? This is the green part that correspond. This is the red part that correspond. So 9 over dx, 4.5 over 3.3. All you need to do is make dx the subject. If you notice, it was just a divided by 2. Okay, you can just take your 4.5 dx equals to 9 times 3.3 dx, or xt here, just 9 times 3.3 divided by 4.5. So once you completed the calculation, okay, you will get a 2 here. Dx will be 6.6. That's how you find your answer for this question. Okay, so a bit tedious. Okay, try to draw it out and then invert the shape manually yourself. Okay, this is how you help to secure your world prize here. So the little details makes the difference. Question 18a, finding -3. So what you're supposed to do now is to input the 2 and -3 together. -2 times -3 becomes +6, making your answer 9. Moving on to A number 2, GF -3. What you're supposed to do is to use the answers that you discovered earlier. Okay, for those who don't know how this works, it's always sorting out from the brackets first. So you have 9 over here, where you then substitute it in again. 9 times 2 is 18, 18 plus 3 is 21. Now we are at step B here. Okay, F inverse X. So what you're supposed to do is to use the steps where you replace the original fx as y. Okay, this is my method. Okay, first step is to replace the fx as y. The next step is to swap them. Swap as in just replace whatever that was originally y into x and whatever that was x into y. Okay, then the last step is to make y the subject. You have to shift the 2y to the front, shift the x to the back, making y as the subject, leaving it looking something like this, and your inverse has now appeared. It was 3 minus x over 2. Next question is GG x equals to 7. If possible, okay, or if you're new to this or you don't feel confident about it, try to have this habit, write it out again, remind yourself that you are trying to replace. So with this set in, okay, you're going to put it into the equation again, just that the 2x minus 3a plus 3 is what you filled in. Okay, students often accidentally left out the plus 3 at the back. So once you completed that calculation here, you get 4x plus 6 plus 3, you get 4x plus 9 as your final answer. So 4x plus 9 equals to 7. 4x equals to 7 minus 9. 4x equals to -2. X is -1 over 2. Okay. So lastly, we have question D, finding the inverse of 5. Okay. So again, this is something unusual. Okay, my method it's not in the textbook, but I think this textbook should have taught you guys about using log. So again, I wrote down original H equation. I swap them up and rearrange and make y the subject. The y can be made as a subject using a concept called log. Base is 2, result is x, and the y is the power that we are looking for. So this is how you generate it. that your H inverse is actually log 2x. So what they want to see here is you writing the log 2x back, make it equates to 5. So 2 to the power of 5 equals to x. X will be 32. Okay, so this is how you find the answer. Okay. Okay, for those who don't know how this works, you can look over at this example here where you have 2 to the power of 4 equals to 60. Okay, when I change this to log, it will look like this with a base of 2, and we know the final outcome is 16. And when you key in this to the calculator, you get 4. Okay, so this is how you ensure you put in the correct thing. So base results, I like to call it power. So this is how you do your question 18D here. Question 19 is certs 32. Okay, 32 is actually 16 times 2. 98 is actually, what are the combos that I have? 98. 98 is actually 49 times 2. Okay, so you might be wondering why did I change it into this form? It's because I realized that 16 can be changed into 4 square. So 49 can be changed into 7 square. This is solely done with one objective, which is to transfer out the 4. So 4 square root 2 plus 7 square root 2, you will get a final answer of 11 square root 2. And that's your answer right here. Rationalize the denominator. You're supposed to multiply it with square root 2 minus 1. For those who are unsure what I just did, it's actually built on this concept called a square minus b square. And you get a plus b and a minus b. So what I will normally do for this type of question is that I will update the denominator first. Square root 2 will be squared and 1 will be squared, leaving a square root 2 minus 1 at the top. So this 2 minus 1 is just 1, and that's it. This is the final answer. Square root 2 minus 1. This is for question 19b. Question 20 is inverse proportion. Okay, but they didn't write it out in details, so please take note that you're supposed to find the scale factor that is missing here, which is the k. So time to put in the numbers. We have 8, we have 4. When you sort it out, you will get 2. So k equals to 16. And then when we find this, please remember to update your 16 first, then sub it in, which you have 16 over square root 49. Your y turns out to be 16 over 7, which can be further simplified as 272. Okay, that's your final answer for question 20. So we have last few questions here to go through. Question 21. This is to write an expression in terms of x for the height of the rectangle. Okay, they did give us the area of the shapes. Okay, so what are they trying to do? I have no idea how to navigate this question at first glance. So I try to make sense on finding the area first. For triangle, the area was half times x times h. I will get to 11. And then for the other part, I have x plus 1, h plus 2. When they multiply up, I will get 39. So in this case, since they only wanted height of the rectangle, which is the h plus 2 here, I have to find a way to replace it with x. So I decided to navigate from the area calculation here. So I will transfer the 2 to the other side first. It's actually xh over 2 equals to 11, xh equals to 22, and h will be 22 over x. With this action here, I can now say the height is actually 22 over x plus 2. And that's my height right here. Moving on, they asked us to show the answer. I decided to use the height that we've gotten here, x plus 1, and then 22x plus 2. Multiply it up. Okay, sort it out. I think I have 22x plus 22 over x equals to 39 minus 24. When I minus it out, I get 15, 2x plus 22x. Okay, this step, you're quite close to the answer already, and the last thing that you need is to multiply all of them or to make their denominator the same. So this one here, when you wanted to multiply it, you will get 22x squared plus 22 equals to 15, and 2x squared plus 22 equals to 15x. Run the final readjustment. Okay, after you reorganize everything, this is your final answer. Okay, quite tricky. Okay, so make sure you remember your fundamentals. Okay, factorization process where students always use calculator to solve this. Now that the syllabus has changed, okay, you actually have to remember how to do it manually back then. So for those who is new, let me explain in detail. So let me erase all this. You have to find out the combo that you can get to 2x squared. It was 2x times x. You also have to find out the combo that can get to 22. They are 11 and 2. So from here, you're supposed to cross multiply them, leading to a 4x and 11x. And the final answer for this question, they wanted it to be negative 15. So negative 11, negative 4, making it 2x minus 11 and x minus 2. So x equals to 11 over 2, or x equals to 2. And do take note that this x here is not the height. So the height is actually 22 over x plus 2. You still have to complete the calculation, but writing down the height, that's why it is a 5 marks. Students that is rushing will often fall for this and thinking that, oh, we're done. Okay, this is when x is 2. You get 11 plus 2, which is 13. 13 was the first answer. And then when x is 11 over 2, height will now be 22 times 2 over 11 plus 2. Cross them off. 4 plus 2 is 6. And you're done. That's your final answer here. Moving on to the next question. Okay, question 22. We are using trigo here. 8 is actually adjacent. X is actually your hypo. So this will be cosine 30 equals to k, which is 8 over x. X as the subject, you get 8 over cosine 30. Okay, back then at this stage we'll be using our calculator, but now they actually want you to memorize the list of the cosine here, which is 2 square root 3 over 2. Okay, so 8 divided by square root 3 over 2. Make the readjustment. So you will get 16 square root 3 over 3 as your final answer. Okay, what I did extra here was the rationalization. Okay, if possible, try to keep things rationalized. Question 23. Okay. What we have here, they want us to make it as a single fraction. So I just can straight away draw a big one. Do take note that you need to include brackets. So 3 will be multiplied with x plus 3. 4 will be multiplied by x minus 4. Denominator remain unchanged. Multiply it up. You will get something like 3x plus 9 minus 4x plus 16. So when all of this add up, you get negative x and 25 as your final answer. Last few question 24. This is actually a standard form, okay? Completing the square here, okay? So to get this done, you must remember one thing and one thing only. Always focus on the first two values that was given at the front. So now that you have highlighted the first two, you can straight away put the brackets covering it. Since you took out the square already, x have no more square, and the 4, or negative 4 in this case, will be divided by 2. Remember, you're only taking the coefficient of it. The plus 7 remain unchanged, and you have to minus one more thing, which is the new numbers that we created here, referring to this negative 4 over 2. So you will get x minus 2 square plus 7 minus 2 square. So your answer is x minus 2 square plus 3. The turning point in this case is just by having the brackets that we have earlier equate it to 0, x will be 2, and the y will just be 3 immediately. So that's how you get the 2 over 3. For question 24, you just need more practice, then this question can be solved easily. Moving on to question 25, they want us to use mathematically similar and solve this question. Okay, personally, I prefer to use comparison method, where if I notice there was a square here, I will do a square root with a 9 because it was correspond to the bigger one, and 25 correspond to the smaller one, which is x here. 36 returns out to be 6, and then 25 returns out to be 5, and make x the subject. 6x, 9 times 5 is how much? And when you divide it accordingly, you will get a 3. So 7, balance is 3, and it can be further simplified, making it 7 1 over 2 centimeters. Question 26. Okay, so last two questions now. So first one, they asked us to draw a cubic graph. Please take note that this one here is actually x plus 0. Okay, if you don't want, you can choose not to write it at all. Okay, so what are the reminder on this question? Each of the brackets that you have here will now be equates into 0. Okay, this action here is to help you to identify the roots or x-intercept here, so that you know you're dealing with negative 2, you are dealing with 1, 2, 3, and 4. 2, 3. Then from here, you can now identify that it was a going uptrend kind of graph, because the x times x times x is a positive x cube. Positive x cube, it is shooting up like a stock market graph. So it's gonna go up like this. Remember, the graph must be freehand. Try your best to keep the graph as natural as possible. Do not use ruler or random sketches. Okay. So this right here will be my final answer. And I have a habit to rewrite the whole thing into the question, leaving it in this form. Okay. So this is my final answer here. And when it comes to expansion, there's not much difference in step. Okay. If possible, I will expand the brackets first, making it x still, but x squared minus 3x plus 2x minus 6. So after the readjustment, I have negative x minus 6, and then you got x cubed plus x squared, minus x squared minus 6x as your final answer. Okay, so last question here. A is a point with 1, -6. The tangent to the graph meets A at y-axis at B. Find the coordinates of B. Okay. So this is actually one of the formulas that I like. Okay, it's from your differentiation formula. It's called equation of the tangent equals to fa plus f prime a x minus a. Okay, first thing first, this a over here is the x value given. So when you look through everything, the x value given was this. Okay, so in the graph, you can immediately update your answer. You have a x minus 1. Then the next thing, they talk about -6. This -6 here represent the FA. So it's like when x equals to 1, the FA of it is -6. So we have -6 already. So the part with the dot, okay, this comes from you making the effort to differentiate the equation that we have earlier, that we expanded here. Okay, so f prime x equals to 3x squared minus 2x minus 6. For those who don't know what's happening, please take note that differentiation means you're taking out the power, transfer it to the front. And in this process of transferring, the power will reduce by 1. So over here, okay, -6x might be the one that students confuse the most. Okay, you're transferring the 1 to the front, making it -6 times 1. X to the power of 1, after minusing 1, it will become 0. So do take note that anything to the power of 0 is actually 1. That's why we have a -6 here. So last step, which is to sub in the 1 that was mentioned earlier. 3 1 squared minus 2 times 1 minus 6. You will get -5. So this is how you get your answer. When you expand it out, you get -5x plus 5. The final answer is -5x minus 1 as your final answer. Okay, and they want us to find coordinates B. They say B meets at the y-axis, basically a y-intercept. So y-intercept is this C here. So C's format is 0, -1 to get the 5 marks. Okay, this is not the only way to do it, but as an AdMath student or AdMath teacher, okay, I prefer to use the simplest way, and this is the one that I think about to use almost immediately. Okay, so if you can remember this formula, it's going to be helpful for you. So that's it for today. We'll do the review for set B as soon as possible. So question that I think is quite challenging will be question 26. And then question 22, because you have to remember the chart now. And then question 21, a little bit of critical thinking. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The rest is still the same old generic past year, but the catch is this time around you're forced to solve it without using calculator. So if you find this helpful, feel free to share this to your friends. Okay, I wish you all the best in your upcoming examination. So last shameless plug. Okay, so we have uh our sponsored here, which is DMath Academy. So we offer, technically it's just me. I offer private tutoring, math and that math, and yeah, it's a group class, it's online, and everything will be recorded. You'll receive your notes, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So to find out more detail, feel free to check the link in the description. So I will see you in the next video. Bye.